Welcome to part 2 of my Death Battle collection idea themes. So, let's get this over with. Ice King versus Lord Hater. Two sinister and silly villains. Tom Kenny versus Tom Kenny's boss. I think it'd be very funny, especially given their personalities. There's a lot of potential for good action. Not to mention, it could really delve into their deeper personalities, like conflicts with Simon and Hater's loneliness. I think that'd be interesting. Light Yagami versus Walter White. Yes, I know Columbo is probably gonna fight Light, but yeah, this battle just works better in my opinion. Fight me on this. There's a whole video essay on why this battle works. I can't remember the name, but I really liked the video and it actually convinced me of this. Given a fight, I have to give it to Walter. Now, dude is Now, Kira is smart, very smart, but he's not much of a fighter. Walter, on the other hand, is genuinely a great fighter. Not to mention, he may not be as smart as Light, but he's definitely up there in terms of intelligence, and could keep up with Light, especially with Light's entitlement. Squidward versus Bakugo. It's a silly fun matchup, let me have my fun. The personalities weirdly work. They have a pretty similar story and character arc in my opinion. This battle is legitimately closer than Reze and Bakugo is. And yes, I know that sounds like hyperbole, but like seriously, at least you can legitimately debate this one. And you have to think about how, like, you know who's gonna win, you have to think about how it is though. Squidward wins, but it was hard to think of how he could do that. Honestly, the way I see it, either lava, sound waves, or literal chemical reactions changing due to his negativity. Yes, he can do that. Also, their personalities would just bounce off well, and it'd be very comedic, I think. Titan versus Syndrome. Two villains who ask the question, what if the everyday man got superpowers? Honestly, this battle works. It would depend on which is greater, Syndrome's intelligence or Titan's raw power. Because the way I see it, the second Titan gets his hands on Syndrome, it's done. He's dead. He's mush. But Syndrome doesn't really have any counters to that other than 0-point energy. But then again, there is the Omnidroid, but that can fail. Not to mention, I don't even know if it is strong enough. Titan is able to throw skyscrapers, while the strongest the Omnidroid has gone against is Mr. Incredible, who can lift, well, the Omnidroid. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's still very fun. I still think it'd be a very interesting battle. Garrison Boom versus Mustake. Two wise mentor figures from the days of old. I don't know, these two characters just are pretty similar in my opinion. They'd get along great, talking about endurance and freedom and such. I have to give it to Garrison Boom though. Yes, I love Ninjago, but I'm sticking with the facts. Garrison probably wins. Now, Mustake going toe-to-toe with the likes of Garmadon is impressive, but I don't think it compares to Garrison basically soloing a Titan. That being said, this one would be genuinely entertaining due to their sheer prowess and their more philosophical discussions. Moro versus Tai Lun. I know Tai Lun has plenty of other options, but honestly, I just have to go with Moro. I think it fits the best. Honestly, just imagine them clashing in the spirit realm. Tai Lun using his sheer physical strength to throw stuff at him and just try to rush over to him. Moro using his wind to try to keep Tai Lun at a distance, trying to maintain control of the situation. But yeah, I do have to give it to Moro. I'd argue he's much stronger and more experienced. And also, I'd even argue more humble, surprisingly. Like, dude's more, like, patient and prone to waiting, while Tai Lun isn't exactly keen, has to have things go his way or everything collapses. Moro has backup plans, basically. Freddy Krueger versus Princess Luna. Two godlike entities who can warp the dream realm to anything they desire. This matchup is silly, but it's honestly the perfect type of silly in my opinion. The nightmare-inducing Freddy Krueger versus the Guardian of Dreams. Honestly, I think it makes sense for these two to fight. I imagine that Princess Luna would kill Freddy by dragging him out into the real world and confronting him there, because, yeah, that's been done before, and Princess Luna is still very powerful in the real world. So yeah, I don't think Freddy's powerful, but I don't think he can take on a goddess. Jack Skellington versus the Grinch. Two misguided characters obsessed with stealing Christmas one way or another. I think the theming fits perfectly. It'd be Death Battle's first official Christmas battle, not to mention it fits perfectly. I imagine Jack would be hostile towards the Grinch. He'd probably be disgusted with his actions and try to fight him right then and there. Jack's magic bouncing off of the Grinch's gadgets would also be fun, but I'm giving it to Jack. There's nothing the Grinch can throw at him that would keep Jack down. The dude survived falling from near orbit, and the worst that he had to deal with was a bout of depression after that. That being said, I think the action and the animation would probably be the highlights of this potential battle. Now for a battle that's gonna break your mind and make you question your perception on reality. Flowey versus the Princess. Okay, there's a lot to discuss, but to keep it brief, both can rewrite and warp the narrative to the point where they're essentially gods. That being said, they can lose control of this narrative at times, like with Flowey in the Genocide run and the Princess during several routes. Now, here's the thing. Even if Flowey fails, you can just rewind and reload a save file, right? And I don't think the Princess can really prevent that. She'd definitely be aware of it, and, she'd definitely be aware of it and try to affect it, but she'd be unable to. And if Flowey has access to his Azrael Dreamer stuff, then he can just flat out destroy pretty much all timelines with the Princess in them. Effectively just killing the Princess. I have to give it to Flowey, though I'm willing to admit I might be wrong on this. Lord Chaos versus Lord Vortek. The two main villains of Toys for Bob. Two tyrannical characters who simply want to command and to take. Who wish for nothing but evil. I don't know, I love these two. Chaos especially. With how overdramatic the both of them are, this battle would be very fun, especially due to the whole army aspect. Just sitting from the sidelines or leading from the front, just trying to kill the other. I don't know, I think it would be very entertaining, and yes, I know I say that a lot, but that's what I'm looking for most in a death battle, honestly. One of the things I'm looking for anyway. It makes sense, the writing's good, and it's entertaining. So yeah. Pac-Man versus Felix. The progenitors of video games and cartoons. Okay, no, they're not the first characters, but you're not gonna watch a battle between the left paddle and Beppy the Clown, are you? Not Beppy the Clown, I don't remember his name, but you get what I'm saying. Honestly, the amount of antics and references you can cram into this are honestly too many to count. Just imagine what you could do with this kind of potential. Felix's cartoon physics meshing with Pac-Man's video game abilities. I think it'd be a very creative matchup. I do think Felix wins, mostly due to how frankly overpowered he can really be. Like, he can even tear out chunks of the storyboard he's in. But yeah, I still think this has a lot of potential. Sam and Max versus Bebop and Rocksteady. I've done it. I found a Sam and Max death battle that I'm fully proud of, 100%. I don't know, I just think this fits. Rocksteady and Bebop just, I just think it fits. These two dynamic duos going head to head. Their personalities, I think, would bounce really well. But I have to give it to Sam and Max. Their ingenuity is too unpredictable, not to mention, they have some absurd stats like infinite ammo, dodging bullets and laser beams, and flat out surviving several life-threatening altercations like the vacuum of space and deep underwater. Also, if you're including the psychic toys, then things get even messier. That being said, again, this is just the main thing I want: humor. Seriously, the jokes would be amazing if done right. Caine versus Mr. Puzzles. I see this happening, especially with Digital Circus almost over and SMG4 being recently finished. I don't know, I see these two fighting, and it makes sense. Like, just honestly, the interactions between the two would be just amazing, just pitch perfect. Like, and I'm sure you could get the actual actors for the characters on board. Like, I don't see why they would say no. Also, yeah, the animation and the battle would just be really cool in general. I could even see some philosophical and psychological elements into the battle given their mentalities. In my opinion, though, I have to give it to Puzzles. Caine is strong, very powerful, but Puzzles, I'd argue, has more control over this ability and knows how to use it and exploit it. Not to mention, in terms of raw power, he dwarfs Caine, being able to seal a tear in reality. Granted, he had help with Mr. Weapons, but I can't divide infinity by half. That's still infinity. Dr. Octopus versus Mr. Freeze. At first, very different, but then you look at their stories, and you see truly how similar they are. Scientists exploited for their talent, their resources. Oscorp and Gothcorp disposed of them when they were not useful. They lost everything, and now they're here to make sure that the companies that ditched them lose everything as well. Now, in terms of arsenal, this has probably got to be one of the most unique ones because their arsenals are as different as it gets. But I do have to give it to Doc Ock, mostly due to how strong those tentacles are. They can take a beating from the Hulk. Mr. Freeze is definitely durable, but I feel like those claws would break his suit eventually. Again, their biggest obstacle would be their intelligence and how they learn and adapt. So yeah, I think it would be a very fascinating battle seeing how they would do such a thing. Monarch versus Phantos. I'm surprised no one has really thought of or mentioned this battle idea. Makes sense. Two collectors of almighty powerful artifacts, or two characters in possession of these artifacts, would probably go toe to toe with each other. It just, I don't know, it's natural. Of course, well, there are a lot of ideas and a lot of fun things you could do with their stones, like Voyage in the Portal Stone, or, I don't know, the Rooster being able to mimic one of the stone's abilities. I'm not sure who wins, but I'm going to lean on the side of Phantos due to his more planetary scale. Though I could see an argument for Monarch as well. I think both of them have a solid chance. Dark Samus versus Deoxys. Space parasites from long ago that only wish to consume. Yeah, this battle I think would be really fun. Especially due to the versatility and variety of Deoxys, along with Dark Samus' sheer persistence. I think that their battle would be genuinely intense. Now, the way I decided this battle was, I just looked that the stats were too close, so I decided to compare how deadly a virus they were. And with that metric, Dark Samus takes it out of the park. The Phazon is infinitely deadlier than whatever Deoxys was. I like to imagine that Deoxys would kill the physical body of Samus, but then be consumed by the Phazon and just have her consciousness transfer to Deoxys. I think it makes sense for the hive mind thing. Moro versus T-Rex. The two gluttons for power, absorbing more and more. Now, Fanmade Death Battle made an excellent episode about this. And honestly, yeah, the verdict makes sense. Moro may be powerful, but he has a limit. Tirek can consume multiple infinities. Not to mention he can just kind of warp reality at his max. That being said, I do think the interactions between the characters would be really good. Luz Noceda versus Anne Boonchoi. To be honest, I feel like this battle is very much going to happen. Out of any of the battles I've shown, this is probably the most likely that's going to happen somewhat soon. Honestly, I love this battle. And I feel like these two would act pretty friendly towards each other during the fight. I'll be honest, I could see this going either way, but I'm going with Anne, mostly because she matches Luz's smarts, but she also has, much greater durability and much greater physical strength. I could see her doing the whole crystal gem punch thing, obliterating Luz, but having herself quickly die in the process, kind of like with All Might and Might Guy. Them having a scene reuniting in the gem space, and having a cute little moment where they're like, hey, wanna go again? Or something like that. Akin to Goku versus Superman. I don't know, I just think it works for these two. The Genie versus Beetlejuice. Two beings of infinite cosmic power with an itty bitty living space. I don't know, it's fun. They can do whatever they want, and they're very mischievous. I'll be honest, I could see these two fighting for the most petty reason in existence. This was tough, but I have to give it to the Genie because we have seen and it has been shown in Jin mythology that they are capable of manipulating and getting rid of souls, though Genie isn't exactly a fan of it. Emperor Palpatine versus Master Xehanort. Two evil yellow-eyed tyrants that command everything in their universe. Honestly, I could imagine this being a massive army battle with these two in the center, basically just fighting and throwing everything at the side. But yeah, I have to give it to Xehanort. The dude is powerful. Not to mention, I'd argue actually more experienced than Palpatine. The dude's been around since pretty much the very beginning. Not to mention, I'm pretty sure his Keyblade can actually see the future. And of course, the Keyblade summons Kingdom Hearts, which basically erodes all of her reality, which Palpatine would have no real counter for. Not to mention, Xehanort could steal his heart and just turn him into a Heartless right then and there. So yeah, I see Xehanort winning. That being said, their intellect and cunning would be very fun to bounce off of. Ben 10 versus Green Lantern rematch. I'm genuinely surprised this isn't one of the big three that I expected to win. Seriously, I feel like this one really needed to win. I would have accepted Mewtwo versus Shadow or, Bowser versus Ganon, but, still, I feel like this... Okay. But, yeah. The first half of the battle, I wouldn't change. It's the second half we're stuck. Okay, Ben wins. I think we all agree. Ben wins. Dude can rewrite a universe and obliterate them just as easily. Green Lantern may be more experienced and may be just as varied, but yeah, Ben is just a bit too much for him to handle, in my opinion. Brainiac versus Shockwave. Logical, exact, analytical, heartless. Two mechanical beings with no sentiment. This was extremely difficult for me to think of a winner for, due to just how powerful both of them are. Both have ways that both can counter each other in pretty much every conceivable way. But at the end of the day, I had to give it to Brainiac because of something I learned recently. His true form, which can render multiverses to atoms. So yeah, I have to give it to Brainiac. That being said, Shockwave does put up a really good fight, especially if we're considering the comics, where he basically becomes a god. Their sheer cold analytical side would be very, interesting to see, like, their lack of emotion would actually help this. Dareth versus Zote. I need this. The two pathetic champions. Two characters that believe themselves to be champions but are actually pretty pathetic. I don't know. I could see this ending with Dareth killing Zote by accident. Like, okay, Dareth knows how to fight. He's terrible at it, but at least he actually knows how to fight, unlike Zote. So yeah, not to mention Dareth has some small semblance of competence. Yeah, I have to give it to Dareth. That being said, I just love the image of them just running around the tournament, just looking like absolute cowards. Bowser versus Ganondorf rematch. Like, okay, I get why they didn't do it this season. They already had a Bowser matchup planned. I get it. But I feel like we need this one fairly soon because Bowser needs more respect, honestly. He deserves a rematch with Ganon. And yeah, let's be real. Ganon puts up a good fight. Like, probably a better fight than Eggman, but he still ends up losing. Could Ganondorf win in a couple situations? Probably, but Bowser wins majority of the time. Too many counters. Also, Bowser probably wouldn't be treated like an idiot in this battle. He would probably be treated as a competent threat alongside with Ganon. I could see Bowser just draining the life from him and just stomping him out like a freaking cigarette or something like that. I don't know. I think it makes sense and be perfect karmic justice for... Yeah, I'm sorry, I hate that episode so much. William Afton versus Junko Inoshima. I'll be honest, I love this battle, but I don't get why people think Junko wins. Like, every win con is Monokuma go brr, but yeah, no, this isn't about Monokuma. This isn't about any of their creations. Purely between Willy and Junko. And well, yes, Junko may have physical stats, like she's physically stronger and maybe faster. William Afton is just too tough and too experienced. Not to mention, he has way more supernatural abilities up his alley. If his weapons won't work, then some of his stuff like, mind control and borderline possession could work. Not to mention, there's the whole alter ego AI, which I'd have to counter with, glitch trap stuff. Bringing an obscure fan game where Junko can blow up a universe or something like that. I have to bring in FNAF World where Springtrap can kill God. Yeah, I don't know, just the way I see it, any way you slice it, if you slice this in any way that doesn't involve the Monokuma dolls, which, okay, even if it did, Glitchtrap could just reprogram them. William could just control them. He can control the Glamrocks, which are just as advanced as the Monokumas, in terms of intelligence at least. So yeah, I see William winning. That being said, I'd love to see the interaction between these two. Dementio versus Memphis. Honestly, I just love this battle. Especially, I don't know, the interactions between Mephiles and Dementio would be amazing. Mephiles' more surly demeanor, contrasting with Dementio's more playful and sadistic nature. Also, we need to have Alex Beckham voice Dementio and the dude from the fandubs voice Mephiles. That would just be too perfect. Both can affect the wider multiverse at their peak, but I'd give it to Dementio because of the Void. The Void can destroy all universes, like with the Solaris stuff. But here's the thing, Dementio can summon it anytime he wants. Which means the second he's done playing around with Mephiles, he can summon the Void and then just go, see ya. But yeah, of course he wouldn't do it right away. He'd only do it when he thinks things are getting serious. So, Sonic.exe versus Monica. I love this battle. I want this battle to happen so bad. I think it works so well. Two sentient AIs taking over a game and basically, two beings possessing a game, controlling it from the inside, warping it to their twisted desires. I think Sonic.exe's sadistic pleasure and over the top performance, contrasted with Monica probably being a lot more serious and straight to the point, would be the perfect contrast. But yeah, I give it to Sonic EXE. Monica can delete Sonic all she wants, but she cannot get rid of the demon in the machine. Sonic EXE can't really be put down, at least not by Monica. Eventually that true form is gonna pop up and she's gonna be powerless against it. Lord Drakon versus Enerjack. I'm sorry, I just like this battle. I know that there's the Kamen Rider character for Lord Drakon, but I personally think this fits better. I don't know, I just really like Enerjack and I really like Lord Drakon. They fit well, and I think this battle would be a lot of fun. Just two megalomaniacs across the multiverse fighting each other for total control. Who do I think wins? You can make a solid case for either, but I'm gonna go with Enerjack because of his soul manipulation. But I would be happy either way. Godzilla Ultima versus Simone the Digger. Honestly, this is what I call a paradox. Like, how do you determine a winner with this? Like, no, seriously, how do you determine a winner with this? A character that can infinitely get stronger versus a character that will always come back stronger than that. Simone can get stronger than Ultima, and then destroy them. And then Godzilla can do the whole no thing and obliterate Simone. He would then just resist that and, get even stronger and obliterate Ultima. And then Ultima goes no all over again, and it just leads into an infinite spiral. So yeah, I'm not sure. It could genuinely go either way. Though now that I think about it, Simone can ascend to 14 dimensions. So I think he could realistically reach the Eldritch God. There's no way he'd be able to kill it. Actually, you know what? Maybe he could. He could kill the Anti-Spiral, so I could see him being able to kill the Eldritch being controlling Godzilla, so you know what? I'm gonna give it to Simone because of that. It would be very difficult, and he'd probably never even think of it, but hey, it at least put an end to this loop. And now for the final battle, one that I want to see happen the most. The final battle that I have in store for you is Sonic versus Superman. I just want to see this battle. Just two of the most powerful characters in fiction going toe-to-toe, holding nothing back, conglomerates of several versions. At the end of their battle, I see them summoning versions of themselves across time and space. Different versions across different series and different continuities. Who wins? No one. I think it's a tie. I genuinely don't think there's a real winner here. Both of their stats are basically infinite. Superman can't really erase Sonic, but Sonic can't erase Superman. They're both constants. They both... Anything one can do, the other can counter. So there's no real winner here. But I think that's okay. These two would I imagine them ending the battle and just being tired and ordering a cup of coffee together. And that is Death Battle. My ideas for it. I hope you enjoy.